Hi, welcome to Basic of PCB Designing. Myself Mukhtar. I am an embedded system design professional. I have been working in this domain for more than 8 years. Today I'm gonna discuss about PCBs. So, what are PCBs? How they are made? What are their types? And what is Gerber file? So this session will gonna be a basic session, but it is very important because when we will do later on our designing part, this information will be very useful. So stay tuned. Let's begin. So these are the blank PCBs. This is what you get from a PCB manufacturer. Now, in order to get these PCBs, we need to provide them a Gerber file. Now, in order to understand the Gerber file, we must understand how these PCBs are made first. So initially all PCBs are look like this. This is called a copper clad board. It is made up of the FR4 board, which is an insulator, and on top of that there is a thin layer of copper foil sticked on it. So this copper foil may be on one side or both the side depending on the type of PCB we are manufacturing. So the overall thickness, it has only 1.6 mm, and out of which the copper foil having thickness of around 35 micron on each side. Now the next step is to transfer the design onto the copper. So in the Gerber file, we provide a design layout for each and every copper layer. So with the help of some photo transfer method or by some printing method, the design gets transferred onto the copper. So it will look like this. Now the next step is to remove all exposed and or the unwanted copper. So there is a process called etching. It is a chemical process. So with the help of that process, all this unwanted copper and the exposed copper removed. Basically it react to this exposed copper, and this copper will get vanished. So at the end we will be having only this black color copper, which contains the traces and the copper core. Then after peeling this black coating, the board will look like this. Now the board will have only the copper traces, component pads and the drill holes, but this is not a complete PCB because these traces are still exposed, so it can catch the thin layer of corrosion on it. Also, when we will do a component soldering, this copper having tendency to suck the solder material, which can form a bridge between the copper traces or the component pads, so it can create a short circuit on the board. So in order to avoid all this problem, we have a solder mask layer. So basically solder mask layer cover all this copper layer, only the component pads are exposed so that component can be soldered, and rest of the copper covered under it. So this is the layer which gives PCB a green iconic color, and these days we have various color options. So at the time of ordering a PCB, we can ask our manufacturer to provide one of this. Now the next is silkscreen. So whatever we are seeing in the white color on the board, it is because of the silkscreen. The purpose of the silkscreen is to add information onto the PCB. Information such as the component outline, text, logos, symbols, branding information, all this stuff. So silkscreen can be added on both the side. It is up to us where we are adding our information. So this is called a drill drawing layer. The purpose of the drill drawing layer is to provide information related to the drill holes on the board. The information such as its XY position on the board, its diameter, its quantity, and if that hole is plated or non-plated. On the board we can see a unique symbol has been used to signify its position on the board, and there is a drill chart which having a list of drill hole information along with its symbol and other information. Along with the drill drawing layer, we also provide NC drill in case of automatic drilling. Now the next is how these PCBs look like from a side or its cross-sectional view. All PCBs have a substrate, and in case of single layer PCB we have only one layer of copper, and then on top of that we have solder mask and we may have the silkscreen. In case of double layer PCB we have two layers of copper, then that's solder mask and silkscreen are same. Now we also have a multi-layer PCB. Multi-layer PCB same as double layer PCB, but on top of that we can add more layers of copper. So you can see there's a pre-pack and then copper. So the multi-layer can go up to n numbers. It is basically depending on the capability of the PCB manufacturer. It is usually 12 or 13, but the 4-layer PCBs are common and popular. So we have discussed about the PCB structure, and these PCBs, what we discussed, all have the rigid substrate. So it is called a rigid PCB. There is one more type which is called a flexible PCB. In that they use a different type of material so which can bend. So it is a flexible PCB. Now let's see the type of PCB. In case of single-sided PCB, we have all components on one side, usually on top, and we have only one layer of copper which is on the bottom side. So usually on single-sided PCB we have through-hole components. The beauty of single-sided PCB, it is simple and cost-effective. That is why it is still in use in some SMPS applications. Now the next is double layer PCB. So when we have some complex circuits and we have a small size of the PCB, so we can use double-sided PCB. In double-sided PCB, we have two layers of copper on top and the bottom. So we can use this layer to create traces, and also we can keep the component on both the sides. But the industrial practice is we keep component only on one side, which can help in doing assembly only in one step. So this is double-sided PCB. In case of a more complex board, we can of course go towards the multi-layer PCB or the 4-layer board, so which will give us more space for creating a traces. So now let's finally talk about the Gerber file. So the Gerber file is basically the output of the design, okay, and it is not a single file. It is usually a zip or RAR file, and in that we have bunch of files. I have tried to categorize the number of layer in it. So all Gerber file will have a set of copper layers. So depending on the type of PCB we have designed, we'll have a number of copper layers, and then we'll have a solder mask layers for the top and the bottom side. Then also we'll have silkscreen layer again at the top and the bottom side, and there will be a drill drawing related layers, and additionally we may have the paste mask layer. So these are the set of files which required inside a Gerber file. So you zip this file and provide to the PCB manufacturer. Manufacturer will give you the blank PCBs. So I hope this session was informative. If you have any query and doubts, please let me know. In the next session, we'll be discussing about the components, schematic symbol, footprints. So all this stuff we're gonna cover in the next session. So stay tuned. See you in the next session.